Whatculture.
The media is full of amazing heroes in warfare, from the fictional cast of Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan to John Rambo, everyone's favourite Vietnam vet and headband model. Even those with the most cursory knowledge of history will be aware of real-life war heroes as well, whether it's Winston Churchill or Oscar Schindler, but there are loads more because war has loads of people in it, and let's look at some. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and here are 10 badass war heroes you've never heard of. Number 10. Ben L Salomon. Benjamin Lewis Salomon was a dentist in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. World War II didn't care what your day job was, however, and so he saw his first Pacific Theatre combat in June of 1944. Since dental work isn't a high priority when you've got German artillery bearing down on you, Benjamin went ahead and picked up the slack of the 2nd Battalion surgeon who had been wounded. Whilst patching people up and doing a few routine root canals, Japanese forces overwhelmed the medical tent, and so he shot 2 enemy soldiers, headbutted another, and then provided covering fire so the wounded could escape. When they returned to the tent later, the battalion found Salomon dead, surrounded by the bodies of about, and are you ready for this, of about 100 Japanese soldiers. Number 9. The Churchill Club. During the war, it became mandatory for all Aryan children to join the Hitler Youth, the fascist scouts. But in 1941, a rebellious group of Danish teens decided to fight back against the invasion of their small Scandinavian country. The 8 teenagers formed the Churchill Club, operating out of their school to perform acts of sabotage against the Nazi army. Inspired by the British Prime Minister, they nabbed off with Nazi weapons and vehicles, spread anti-Nazi propaganda to the kids who were being brought into the Hitler Youth, and once even set a train full of munitions on fire, and were arrested, but escaped, and continued their antics. Number 8. Rags the Terrier. They're all good dogs, Brent. Rags was a mixed terrier who was happened upon by AWOL American soldier James Donovan in World War I era Paris. Donovan managed to avoid a court-martial by claiming Rags was the lost mascot of the US 1st Infantry Division that he was off looking for, which is clever. The bluff worked so well, in fact, that Rags was actually adopted by the troops and trained to run messages across enemy lines, providing early warnings of incoming attacks. That, of course, came after Donovan tried to leave him behind in Paris, worried for the dog's safety, and it somehow managed to track him down in the trenches. Besides risking his life dodging bullet fire and mortars to run messages, he also began to predict when bombs were coming thanks to his sensitive ears, and there's no way of knowing how many lives Rags saved. Number 7. Wojtek the Bear. Move over, Rags. The 22nd Artillery Supply Company of the Polish 2nd Corps happened across a Syrian brown bear cub in Iran and decided to keep it, and then trained him to carry ammo across the battlefield, and then let him earn the name He Who Enjoys War or Smiling Warrior. Badass. Initially struggling to eat anything other than condensed milk from a vodka bottle, Wojtek began to enjoy eating fruit, marmalade, honey and syrup, and beer, which he was frequently rewarded with, and then he also developed a taste for cigarettes, both smoking them and eating them. Besides being a fun little mascot who would get sloshed and was taught to salute his fellow soldiers, Wojtek trekked with the Polish army all the way from Persia to Palestine and became an officially enlisted soldier of the company, helping the good fight against the Axis forces in World War II. And in case you're wondering, he reached the rank of corporal and survived the war. That's a good boy, Wojtek. A good Wojtek. Number 6. Matvey Kuzmin. When Russia was occupied by Nazi forces in World War II, an 80-year-old farmer named Matvey Kuzmin helped house Nazi soldiers and was hired to guide them in return for money, flour, kerosene, and a rifle. Kuzmin agreed, but he wasn't selling out his countrymen. Upon learning the planned route of the soldiers, he sent his grandson to warn Soviet troops, proposing an ambush he would orchestrate by leading them on a wild goose chase through the woods whilst the Russians got into place. They did ultimately realize they were being tricked, but Kuzmin still managed to lure them to a stagnant bog where the Red Army had set up a trap. He was then shot dead by a Nazi officer, but 50 invaders were killed and 20 captured, leading to him being named a hero of the Soviet Union. Number 5. Ian Fleming and Christopher Lee. Besides being step-cousins, Christopher, I've been in every film Lee, and Ian, I made James Bond Fleming, also teamed up to be secret wartime heroes as a part of the covert Baker Street Irregulars group of super spies. Named for the group of fictional characters featured in the Sherlock Holmes stories, the Baker Street Irregulars were tasked by Winston Churchill to set Europe ablaze during World War II, which is a very Winston Churchill thing to say. The Irregulars weren't so much recruited for their spying skills, however, as their ability to be charming as hell. Along with Fleming and Lee were Roald Dahl, Noel Coward, and Gone with the Wind star, Leslie Howard. The aim of the group was to bring powerful and influential people around to Britain's way of anti-Nazi thinking at a time when nobody was particularly eager to stand up to the Hitler war machine, and that includes the US. They also did a bit of spying, but usually whilst they were sleeping with foreign dignitaries' wives and girlfriends. Plus, they slipped dodgy evidence to FDR to convince America to enter the battle, and Fleming created Bond off the back of it, so all in all, good work, I think. Number 4. Christina Skarbek. Maria Christina Janina Skarbek, also known as Christine Granville, fled her home country of Poland at the beginning of the Second World War and was recruited by the British Secret Intelligence Service months before the Special Operations Executive was founded in July 1940. During her time as a spy, she helped recruit a record number of women agents to the cause, went to Hungary and Cairo and operated in aspiring that smuggled intelligence and anti-tank rifles, and wiped out entire battalions in France by convincing bombers to abandon their positions. She even managed to get out of being arrested by the Gestapo for biting her tongue until it bled and convincing the Nazis that she had tuberculosis, so they wanted to get as far away from her as possible. After that, she made rescue missions something of a specialty, saving 3 Allied spies by telling their captors that they would be charged with war crimes. Not only did Christina Skarbek do a load of amazing stuff, but she did most of it just by talking to people. Also, she may have been the inspiration for the first Bond girl, so also great. Number 3. Albert Patel. A respected lawyer, Patel was a fine, upstanding member of the community who was stationed in southern Poland at the outbreak of World War II. The 51-year-old reserve officer was due to oversee the SS liquidation of the Jewish ghetto in the city in 1942, a process which would have seen the entire population shipped off to concentration camps or executed. With the support of his superior officer, Patel ordered the bridge over the River San, the only access into the ghetto, be blocked by his troops. When the SS commando squad due to carry out the liquidation arrived, the sergeant major informed his fellow Nazis that his men would open fire if they tried to get past them. And whilst his men held them off, Patel snuck into the ghetto and personally evacuated up to 100 Jews and their families, all in broad daylight. Himmler himself investigated the rebellion, but nothing came of it, and before any punishment could be meted out, he was discharged from military service because of heart disease and died in 1952. He was posthumously recognized as righteous among the nations in 1981. Number 2. Simo Hjutinen. Growing up in Finland, Simo did his 1 year of mandatory military service and then went back to working as a farmer and hunter. At the outbreak of the Winter War between Finland and the Soviet Union in 1939, with the Russians invading his homeland, Hjutinen decided to pick up his rifle once again. Re-enlisting in the Finnish army, he climbed up a tree near his home in temperatures between 4 and -6 degrees Celsius, dressed completely in white camouflage with a few tins of food to keep him nourished. Over 500 members of the Soviet forces were gunned down by the newly dubbed White Death over a period of 100 days, meaning that he averaged about 5 kills a day. The Russians even tried carpet bombing the area they suspected Hjutinen to be holed up in, but to no avail. Finally, a Soviet soldier did manage to shoot him in the head with an exploding bullet, with the Finnish soldiers who found him claiming he had half his head missing, but he survived, and doctors promptly reconstructed his face. Number 1. Sir Adrian Paul Gillan Carton de Wiar. That was hard to say. Britain's unkillable soldier served in the Boer War, First World War, and Second World War, and was horribly injured in all of them. What did Adrian have to say about his traumatic experiences in the battlefield? Frankly, I enjoyed the war. He's not well. He suffered stomach and groin injuries early on in the Boer War, was shot twice in the face in World War I, but continued to lead 3 infantry battalions and a brigade on the Western Front, during which time he lost his left hand and 3 of the fingers off his right, which he bit off himself. Frostbite, I think. He was shot through the skull and the ankle at the Battle of the Somme, through the hip at another, through the leg at Cambrai, and through the ear at Arras. And he kept coming! It's like Michael Myers if he was on your side. He kept rising through the military ranks until he became Winston Churchill's personal representative. By the time World War II started, the 60-year-old de Wiar was captured by Italian troops in Libya after his plane had crashed in the ocean and he'd swam a mile to shore. Just unbelievable. And that's our list. A lot of World War stuff here, so let us know the countless other heroes in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the Whatculture YouTube channel for more lists like this, and don't forget to visit whatculture.com for daily news and articles. I'm Ben from Whatculture, and thanks for watching.